Hey, welcome back to the next chapter. I'm B9. This is chapter 7, drama. So, as you can see, I'm an MSU fan. There's been a lot of drama at MSU this week. Mel took the whole tuck coming thing a little bit too far. He took that shit literally and just stupid. Man, just wasted his career over something dumb. And it's created a lot of drama for the university. Um, a lot of questions surrounding why they waited until that story broke. Um, and then obviously, it's just stupid that he put himself in that position. And then he put his team in a bad position. And it showed today. 41-7. That's an ass whooping. But hopefully those young men will rebound and next week will go good. But definitely some drama this week. Before I actually get into what I want to talk about, I want to kind of go back to something that I said earlier on and how I've focused the video on talking to people who have similar experiences as me. And the goal originally was to focus on single fathers. Um, I wanted to try to help guys like me who are adjusting to becoming single fathers and who are um, experiencing some of the same things that I've experienced when dealing with a narcissist. Um, and what I'm realizing is that the videos are actually something that women are able to relate to too. I've had a couple of female friends who have dealt with narcissists or who have been in relationships and experienced some of the things that I've gone through reach out to me and tell me that they've enjoyed watching the videos and encouraged me to continue to do them. They've subscribed and shown a lot of support there. And so, what I've come to realize, obviously, I think I mentioned before, I was raised by a single mother, um, is that maybe I need to just talk to single parents, period. Maybe it doesn't just need to be single fathers. Um, I think single fatherhood is becoming more common. I'm a member of a few different groups on Facebook that are geared towards single fathers. So there's a lot of us out there where, um, even just a few years ago, it wasn't like that. So I think it's great that guys are starting to get custody of their kids, and I'm going to continue to talk um, from my point of view, which will hopefully help the single fathers that are watching this. But I don't want to exclude the single mothers who might be able to get something from my experiences also, um, because a big part of what I'm doing is talking about the experience with a narcissist. And realistically, it's more common, or yeah, it's more common for a man to be a narcissist than it is a woman. Those the percentages are higher with men than they are with women. So that means that there are more women out there dealing with narcissistic men than there are men dealing with narcissistic women. So I need to make some adjustments, and we're going to work on that, and we're going to start to gear this towards everybody so that hopefully we can reach a bigger audience and help more people with some of their situations. So this chapter is going to be about drama. And just like MSU, over the last 7 days, I've been dealing with a lot of drama myself. So a little over a week ago, my ex started asking me for some sensitive information on our kids' social security numbers. And she was sending me these text messages during the day. I'm at work. She doesn't comprehend that I'm busy. I'm busy when I'm at work. I'm busy when I'm at home. And the kids are with me. So it's not a priority to me to check messages from her because I know the kids are with me and the kids are safe. And the way things are right now, the kids are always with me. Um, because she's kind of damaged that relationship. We've talked about that. And she's got this boyfriend that she claims she's not with anymore, but we have every reason in the world to believe that she is. Uh, so there's no reason for her to be contacting me. Uh, but when she contacts me out of the blue and she's asking me for my kid's social security number, um, obviously that throws up a red flag. And so she's texting me while I'm at work. I didn't respond, didn't have time to respond. At one point, didn't even see the messages until later in the day. And then it was just like, I'm not going down this road with her because whatever she's up to is probably no good. Uh, I think she tried calling me at night. And again, I have a lot of responsibilities like all single parents do. When I get home, I've got to cook dinner, I've got to pack lunches for the next day. Um, got laundry, we've got pets I've got to feed and take out, things like that. Um, and I try not to put too much on the kids. I want them when they get home, I want them to focus on their homework, and then they'll have some chores, and then I want them to be able to relax too. So um, there's not too much work that I can't handle it on my own. It gets tiring sometimes, and sometimes I wish I had a little bit more help. Um, but their education is more important to me, so them getting their homework done is a big deal. So I don't have time to just sit and look at my phone. Even now, I do these videos. Most of the time, I'm doing them late at night after the kids have gone to bed, or occasionally, if I have the weekend off, I'm up doing them early on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning. So I don't usually hold on to my phone. So I missed a call from her. And normally that's fine because I don't want to take calls from her. I try to limit our communication to text. But where I screwed up was the next day I did answer the phone when she called. Um, and she called me and she asked again for the kid's social security number, claiming that she needed it for her apartment complex. And I asked why. I didn't understand why she would need the kid's social security number for her apartment. And she said, because they live there. And I said, but they don't live there. They live with me. And she said, well, they live there half time. And I'm like, no, they don't live there half time right now. They don't live there at all. And under normal circumstances, the court order that was originally written, and we're not on the original order, but the original order was that I had 295 overnights and she has 70. So when I brought that up, she got mad and she said, well, I want the kids this weekend. I'm like, no, that's not how this works. I'm not going to send my kids there until I feel that they're safe, if I feel that they're safe. And again, I'm not just talking about physically. Obviously, I want to make sure my kids are physically safe. That's probably the number one priority. But I also want to make sure that they're mentally safe, and that's definitely a concern for me right now. Is where they are mentally when it comes to her. So I told her no, she wasn't going to get the kids that weekend. And the other part of it is just, I don't like people making demands of me. And she knows that. She likes to press my buttons. Um, so she gets mad. She said, well, I'm going to take this to court. I'm like, that's fine. And she goes, that's not funny. Like, I didn't say it was funny. She's like, I'm serious. We're going to go to court. It's like, that's fine. We can go to court. I'd be happy to go to court. And she didn't like that. And so she hung up. And I knew it wasn't going to be the end of it. There's no way that she was going to let it go that easily. So she sends me a text message a few minutes later. You're a bitch. You're a piece of shit. Now, she knows me. We were together for a little over 10 years. And she knows that I don't like being called a bitch by anybody, let alone her. It really gets under my skin when she says something like that to me because I can't say that to her. Now, there have been a handful of times where we've gotten into an argument um, since the divorce where she's got me so upset that I've snapped and I've said bitch. But I think that is probably maybe twice over the last 4 years. Um, so she called me a bitch and piece of shit, ugly piece of shit, things like that. I was able to maintain my composure and I didn't respond. So she sends another message, maybe 30 seconds later. You're a bitch, you're a piece of shit, you're an ugly piece of shit, things like that. Okay. This is obviously making you more upset than it is me. And then she crossed the line. The next message she sent, again, I was a bitch, but this time she said something to me that I'm not going to repeat on here just out of fear that maybe one day my kids might see this. Um, it is supposed to be restricted to adults only, and the video, I believe, um, is set for 18 and over. But just in case I'm not going to say what she said to me, I will let you use your own imagination. Keep in mind that my ex wife is white and I am biracial. So you can put that together and go from there on your own. So she crossed the line. And if she can cross that line with me and say that to me, what's stopping her from saying that to her multiracial kids? So now we've got this drama. She's good for creating drama in my life. So she's now crossed the line with me, and to me, she's dead now. She's dead to me. I have nothing to say to her. I want nothing to do with her. If I never hear from her again, I'll be perfectly fine with that. I'll be happy and content, and probably die with a smile on my face. Um, but she's said that to me, and then she's also told me that we can go to court, which you've heard me say that she doesn't want to go to court. And the reason why she doesn't really want to go to court is because she knows that if she tried to go to court, if she went before a judge and tried to make any kind of argument against me and my ability to parent or my decision making when it comes to the kids, that I have enough information, I have enough history, I have enough knowledge that I could literally bury her in a courtroom without hiring an attorney. I'm smart enough where I can handle that legal battle on my own, but she's not equipped for that. So she would just go in there with random things that wouldn't make sense because she's not able to form a complete thought or stay on track to be able to argue a case in court. So I'm more than willing to go to court in any situation where I've got to fight for my kids. I'm down. Uh, it doesn't matter what it is. You heard me say in damaged goods, if we got to take it to the court, I'll take it to the court. If we got to take it to the streets, I'll take it to the streets. I'm not afraid of her or anyone involved with her. I've yet to meet a person in my life that scares me. And that might sound foolish. That might be a dumb way to look at things, but realistically, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of a fight. I'm not afraid to die. I know one day it's going to happen. Um, Obviously there's different ways, and you hope that you die of natural causes. And my biggest fear, like I said before, is that I die and then my kids are stuck with her. So, anyways, she really doesn't want to go to court, but since she made that threat of going to court, what I try to do to cover myself and make sure I'm covering all the bases is to keep the front of the court involved or aware of these types of situations. Um, so I sent an email um, back in the spring when all this stuff with the boyfriend kicked off, because I wanted to make sure that there was a record of it. I didn't expect a response, which I didn't get, which is fine. According to the secretary there, if they don't respond, that's okay. That just means they've made a record of it. So I'm okay with that. So I did reach out to the friend of the court, and I sent the caseworker screenshots of the text messages that she had sent me and some other text messages where she had recently said things to me or the kids um, to try to manipulate them or to try to antagonize me or whatever. And then also left the caseworker a message letting her know that I sent the email. And surprisingly, she called me back that day and was basically in agreement with my thought process. Um, One thing that I wanted to confirm was that I was in within my rights to restrict that parenting time. I wanted to make sure that um, I wasn't doing anything to violate the court order. So earlier, I mentioned that the original order said that I had 295 overnights to her 70. So that was the original court order, the custody order that the friend of the court recommended to the judge at the time of the divorce. A little over 3 years ago, at the onset of the pandemic, I filed a motion to restrict her parenting time because the building that she was living in at the time had gotten shot up. And we spoke multiple times throughout the day on the day of the shooting, and she never mentioned it to me. The building got shot up at like 7 something in the morning. She didn't tell me about it until like 3:40 in the afternoon, after again we spoke many times that day. um, Now, she's the type of person where she can make a good decision at times, but then later on she'll backtrack on it. So about 3:40 that day, she called me and told me that the building had been shot. Um, it's at that point that she told me that it had happened earlier in the day, but she didn't feel like it was safe for the girls to be there anymore. So I picked the kids up, and knowing her as well as I do, I knew that she was going to tell me within the next couple of days that it was okay and that it was safe for them to come back there. And at this point, I don't feel like it's safe for my kids to be there because there's a bullet hole in the window less than 50 feet away from the window to their bedroom. So yeah, I'm not okay with that. So I filed a motion with the court to protect my kids. And what the goal was to try to force her to look for new housing. Um, the court at the time, again, pandemic had just started, so the courthouse was basically shut down. You could only enter on based on appointment. So they told me to come in. They had me fill out the motion, and then they had me write on the back of it my reasoning for wanting to temporarily terminate parenting time. And then they told me to sign it at the bottom. So I followed their instructions to the T, did everything that they asked me to do. Well, it turns out that when they want those statements. They actually want them to be sworn affidavits, and they want them to be signed, or yeah, signed and stamped by their notary. Excuse me. So I was not aware of that. So when they took my paperwork back to be reviewed, and they had me sit in the lobby, um, they decided that I did not complete the motion properly. But while they were reviewing it, they reached out to her and they were able to make contact with her, and she confirmed that what I said was true, that the building had been shot up. Well, at the time, she was spending the weekends at her mom's house, and she relayed that to the supervisor at the front of the court. So he made the determination that if she was going to go to her mom's house on the weekend, then she could exercise her parenting time at her mother's house, which is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half away from where I live. So at the time, I was okay with that. I thought that was fair. He did make the stupid decision, and I say stupid because of the logic behind it. So she told him that it was safe for the kids to be there during the daytime because the bad things only happen in the dark. And he took that and actually ran with that. So she gets 2 hours of parenting time during the week that he allowed her to keep at her apartment based off of the logic that if the sun's up, it's safe. Now, keep in mind that the shooting took place at like 7:30, 7:45 in the morning when the sun was out. This is in the spring. And so in his mind, or in her mind, whichever, the kids going there from 5 to 7 during on a weekday, it's still light out. Okay, fair enough. But the shooting took place with the light out. The sun was up. And then what happens in the fall when it starts to get dark earlier, or in the winter when it starts to get dark around 5 p.m.? They didn't think about these things. So I'm getting a little bit off track. The reason why I brought this up is because it restricted her parenting time to being at her mom's house. So maybe 6 months down the road, her and her mom had a falling out, and she no longer is able to exercise her parenting time at her mom's house. So she knowingly moved back into, or came back to her apartment, because she never actually gave it up. So she came back to her apartment, and she was only seeing the kids for the 2 hours during the week. Well, she eventually ended up moving into a building that seems safer. It took her a little over a year before she would actually move. So she went a year without any weekends at all. So she finally moves into a new building. And so far, the only issues that have come up where it's a concern have been inside her apartment. Her and her boyfriend fighting, and the police have to be called. New boyfriend, they get into a fight. She kicks him out. She threatens to beat him up and threatens to have the kids help beat him up, which I had to tell my kids to stay out of her shit. And then now this most recent boyfriend, who they got into a verbal and physical altercation in front of the kids while they were there. And then the guy has gotten into verbal altercations with my kids. So when I spoke to the front of the court, I wanted confirmation that she still, based on the order, would be required to exercise her overnights at her mom's house. And if she's not exercising her time at her mom's house, was I still within my rights to keep them home? And I am within my rights to keep them. And she also confirmed that if I had a concern for their safety, both physically and mentally, then I have to use my best judgment to do what's in their best interest. So that's what I'm doing. So again, it's been a drama filled week for me. Uh, she's not reached out to the kids since that day. She tried to contact my daughter multiple times while she was at school, even though she kept telling her she was at school. And she hasn't said anything to them since. She sent me a text message a couple of days ago trying to sell me something because she's now working in sales. Has not apologized for what she said to me, but wants me to buy something from her. Um, Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm not that damn stupid either. So obviously, I didn't respond to that. But that's just an example of some of the drama that has been going on. But part of that is understanding what she was trying to do to me with those text messages. She was pushing buttons. She was trying to trigger a reaction from me. Um, and yeah, that creates drama. She wanted to get me upset. She thought by calling me a bitch that I was going to get pissed off, and she call her out of her name or go back and forth with her. And when I didn't do it, it got under her skin, which that's a win for me. To not say anything and to have that big of an effect on her to the point where she was willing to cross that line with me, that says a lot about her. That says that she's not being rational at all. So over the years, there's been different types of drama. Jail, drug use, prescription medications, drinking too much, all kinds of things that have created problems in our lives. Um, I've mentioned before that she suffers from, I don't know if she suffers, but she's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So she's had these manic bipolar episodes. Um, and so something that I've noticed with that is that whenever she has one of these episodes, she starts to change her hair color. And for some reason, she typically changes it to some shade of red. So a couple of weeks ago, when the kids saw her for her birthday, I noticed that she had changed her hair color to red. So she might be going through one of those bipolar episodes right now. But there's a lot of drama for no reason, a lot of instigating, and she's creating drama for our kids. Um, our oldest daughter is very focused right now on starting high school and getting involved in things, and she's enjoying it. And the drama with her mom is a distraction, and it's taking a toll on her. And she feels like there's this extra weight or this extra burden on her. Uh, and I can say that I've added to that because I'm to the point where I've got to make a decision on what's in their best interest. What's my next move? How do I safeguard them mentally and physically from going through any more emotional damage or having to deal with any more drama? Um, so I've got to make this decision sooner than later. And I've been trying to understand what my daughter's feelings are, what her train of thought is, things like that. And I have put extra stress on her that I didn't intend to, just by trying to do what's right for her. And I think that's something that we all need to consider. You know, we set out to do what's in the kids' best interest, and we want to make the right decision for them. But sometimes when we're trying to come to our own conclusion and we're trying to gather information or get an understanding of how they're feeling, um, we maybe push a little bit too hard. And I did that. I put her in a position where she is thinking that she's got to make a decision on if she wants a relationship with her mom. And that wasn't my goal. My goal was to understand how she's feeling and to just basically determine, is my train of thought right? Am I on the right path? Am I thinking clearly enough to make this decision right now to do what's in their best interest? Um, and I can say that when she told me she was feeling that extra stress or the extra weight being put on her, I realized that right now is not the best time for me to be making this decision because I've got blinders on, and not in the same way that I did before. Now my blinders are on because I'm upset and I don't want my frustration and my pain to be the deciding factor on what's best for them. Uh, just because she's dead to me doesn't mean she has to be dead to them. So I had to take a step back and start to look at what am I doing? How am I actually affecting the kids? Um, because I don't want to be the source of drama in their life. You know, it's hard to do something like that in this situation because I am upset, and that's one of the reasons why it's taken me so long to do chapter 7. From chapter 6. I think it's probably been like 10 days or so. Is because I needed to try to clear my head and calm down and become more focused on what I needed to do so that I don't say or do something that I might regret later on, or say or do something that they might regret later on. Um, because asking them these questions, trying to find out how they feel or what their expectations are, um, it might be good in the short term, but what's the long term effects? And that's what I have to slow down. You've heard me say it before, you got to slow down before you go fast. So I've got to slow down and take my time. And I do still believe that I need to make a decision sooner than later, but that doesn't mean that I've got to make that decision today or I've got to make that decision tomorrow. Maybe I've got to do it in a month or 2 months or something like that. But I don't need to rush and do something that's going to have a long term effect on the kids because I don't want them to end up hating me because I did something that I thought was right. And then it turns out, they end up with daddy issues because I was trying to solve their mommy issues. So I would say that we, as the parents, we have to consider what we're asking of the kids, and we've got to take a step back and think about what we want to talk to them about and how we want to word that and what our goal is. Um, and like for me right now, I said I don't want the kids to see this video and to figure out what was said to me. It's like I've got the magic bullet, but I can't use it. Um, I could put the icing on the cake, but if I do that, then I'm no better than her. Then I'm taking advantage of the situation and I'm manipulating them and their thoughts and their emotions, and I don't want to do that. So I have to keep that buried and not talk about it in front of them. And who knows, maybe I probably shouldn't have brought it up on this video, but like I said, there are safeguards in place to hopefully prevent them from seeing this. But you know that's one of those things, like, I don't want to end up being the bad guy because I was trying to do what's right. And I call this chapter drama, and maybe this doesn't seem like drama, compared to some of the other things that I've had to deal with, this isn't a big case of drama, but it's still drama. And as the parent, we have to recognize how we factor into that. The other parent we know is going to cause problems. We know the other parent's not going to do what's in the kid's best interest. We know the other parent is only thinking of themselves. And we know that other parent is going to try to push our buttons and try to manipulate us and try to get a reaction out of us. So we have to slow it down. We have to think about the kids, and we have to be careful about what we say or do so that we don't have a long-term effect on them that we're going to regret, like I said. And we don't want to create more drama than what they're already dealing with, because at the end of the day, they don't deserve to be pulled into adult trauma. I'm trying not to involve my kids in what was said to me. I think that I made a mistake with asking too many probing questions, where it kind of, showed my daughter my hand, like, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. She's smart enough, and she's probably smarter than me. She was smart enough to figure out that I'm asking these questions because I'm trying to make that decision. And so now she feels like the decision's on her, and it's not. I don't want her making that decision at her age. And I don't want her making that decision for herself or for her sister. It's a decision that I have to make, and it's a decision that I'll have to live with. And so I need to slow down and make sure that it's a decision that I'm comfortable with and that I truly believe wholeheartedly is in their best interest. And I can say that I am leaning more towards the decision is in their best interest. But like I said, I'm going to take my time and make sure of that before I actually pull that trigger. But letting the kids get involved in the back and forth of the drama, or the issues like we talked about previously of counter parenting, it's a slippery slope. It's dangerous. It can hurt the kids in the long run, and we have to do our absolute best to slow that down and safeguard against that so that they are protected. Because ultimately, that's the goal. That's our responsibility. That's our job. That's what we signed up for. So, I know this wasn't necessarily as drama filled as you might expect from a chapter called Drama. But for me, it's been a drama filled week. Like I said, it's that comment took a toll on me, and it kind of threw me off my game a little bit, and I had to refocus my train of thought. And then, like I said, I had to try to correct a mistake with my daughter, and you know make things right with her, make sure that she understood that I made a mistake, and I did not want to put that kind of pressure on her, and that that wasn't my intention, that wasn't my expectation. um, and that I want her to focus on being a child and focus on school. And she says she understood that, and I hope that she does, and we'll see where how that goes. But I think that's probably it for this chapter. We'll hopefully move on to chapter 8 a little bit sooner than what we saw between 6 and 7. But I'll catch you on the next chapter.